Yes. Father, I want to bring, thank you very much, I want to bring in Salvio Rodriguez, the founder and editor-in-chief of the Goa Chronicle, into the discussion. Thank you very much for joining us, Salvio. You've obviously been watching the procession and the funeral traditions today. 200,000 people in attendance at the funeral itself, 50,000 in St. Peter's Square itself. World leaders from all continents, from every corner of the globe. What do you think of it? What does this say? The sheer amount of people and from all around the globe, what does this say about Pope Francis as the leader of the Catholic Church?
Well, Pope Francis is leaving a legacy of compassion. Pope Francis, one of the most unique aspect of Pope Francis's life, as somebody who studied theology himself, let me explain it as beautifully as possible. Pope Francis was someone in the Pope's hierarchical structure, and we've seen popes for decades. He was able, and his mission was to bring Christ back to the people of the Catholic faith and of the Christian faith and people around the world. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is, normally the structures of the church, the Catholic Church, is extremely considered to be strict, dogmatic, driven by hierarchy. But Pope Francis, in his wisdom, guided by the Spirit of God, was able to break through those shackles that were plaguing the Catholic Church at that point of time and become a true Pope of the people, reaching out to people. It was not all dogmatic. It was basically practicality of living the life of Jesus in the modern times, in today's day and age. And that is the uniqueness of Pope Francis. One of the issues that I had worked very closely with and almost had the opportunity to meet him was in 2019, where he had the courage to actually address a concern that has been plaguing the Catholic Church for many years. And that concern was the concern of sexual abuse within the clergy. And he had the courage and the conviction to address that there was something wrong in such acts of criminality. And he had the courage to address it and to set up a system in order that the congregation would continue to have faith, and those within the Catholic Church who were involved in this criminality.
Yes. Salvio, I'm very, very sorry to interrupt you. I just want to play the live audio of Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re saying the last things before the funeral wraps up. we're just interrupting very briefly with some breaking news. We have news coming in that President Donald Trump of the United States and President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine are set to hold a second meeting later today after the funeral. This comes after a brief meeting, a 15-minute meeting that was described as very productive by the White House before the funeral. And so we can expect another meeting after the funeral in context of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Breaking news coming in now, Trump and Zelensky to hold a second meeting later today after the funeral processions are finished. Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re there has just blessed the Pope's coffin with holy water before burning his incense in a thurible. This is a symbol of cleansing, and as the funeral comes to a close end, the bells have just rolled 3 times at midday local time on the dot as we end, as the funeral comes to an end with traditional Catholic prayers. They are now picking up, the procession is picking up the Pope's coffin, where it will be buried at St. Mary's Basilica in his wooden coffin there, Pope Francis. And we can see we are covering the funeral of Pope Francis, which is now coming to an end after an hour-and-a-half service. The Cardinal Giovanni Battista said that Pope Francis touched the minds and wanted to build bridges and not walls. As you can see now, the Pope's wooden coffin being led out of St. Peter's Square, where the funeral is being held. 50,000 people in attendance inside St. Peter's Square at its full capacity, 200,000 in all. World leaders in attendance, they include Donald Trump, former President of the United States, former President Joe Biden, the 46th President of the United States. We see the Pope's wooden coffin being led out. The reason why the Pope's coffin is wooden is that he wanted to focus on humility. Popes previous to Francis have been buried in 3 coffins, The Pope Francis, however, has personally requested to be put in a wooden one, which is symbolizing of his humility and his closeness to the poor. As I was saying previously, world leaders are in attendance, along with 10 monarchs of different countries, along with 200